Good evening, KC. How are you today?
Ray, doing extremely well. It is beautiful down here in the southern part of the United States. How is it up there with you? Parts unknown.
Well, I think you're in a conservative state, so the weather's nice. I'm in a liberal state, and it seems like it's just always junky up here. It's raining. I looked at my radar, just nothing but bands and bands and bands of just rain, wind. My dogs are angry. The chickens in the backyard went in early today. Uh, Not good. Not good. Not good.
Wow.
But I got a sunny outlook.
Well, that's all that matters.
That's all that matters,
But we might not have a sunny outlook for all the AM radio listeners out there. Ray, what's going on?
Oh
Um,
gosh. You
taking
know,
taking AM radio out of cars.
well, it seems like they're going to be taking them out of the electric car, which if I were president, I wouldn't mandate electric cars anyways. But that's me, and I guess I'm too smart to be president because look at what we have now. But yeah, going back, I'm looking. I've heard some guys, Mark Levin. He's a hero of mine. Very smart dude. Uh, he equates AM radios in vehicles to freedom and liberty. Cool. The guy, I see his point of view. He's a conservative talking head. He's on Fox. He's got his own radio station. He's building it up. I mean, AM was dead until Rush Limbaugh came around, and it's picked up again.
Can
Uh,
you give us a little bit of the difference between AM and FM and why they are both in vehicles? And I
cool.
think it was just AM to begin with back in the day, but
Back in my day, son, my first car, 1974 Toyota Corolla, only had an AM radio, and AM stands for amplitude modulation. So it's in a frequency that's lower than the FM, which is a different technology. And so what happens is if I don't know if you ever watched the Jetsons when you were a kid or something, you see the sound waves going up and down. Well, so what happens is your voice gets put on these amplitude, these big spikes that go up and down, and it goes across the airwaves, and depending on the frequency of that up and down and where you're on, that you get modulated on, your radio picks it up and it demodulizes it and it becomes sound and you listen. And it's not the best frequencies in the world. The fidelity's not there. Uh, but it is what it is. And then so they were concerned about this, so they came out with the FM frequency modulation. It's back and forth, so it's a little slice in the wavelength, and they send it out, and that's better sound. So it was great for music and whatnot. So everyone was getting away from AM until El Rushbo came on, and he started his show on talk show on AM radio and breathed life into the AM world. And now we have Sean Hannity, we have Mark Levin, you know.
and it's my understanding with AM though, it's more of the local stations, the smaller stations. Um,
Well, yeah, it is, and there's limiting. I mean, but it's an older technology, and it's so when we talk, we don't need the fidelity as we listen to music. We're not worried about good bass drums and high cymbals and whatnot. So it's the perfect media for voice, and that's what it is. But I also, as you're going down the road, uh, traffic information gets broadcast over AM. You'll see signs on the side of the road, for beach traffic, tune into AM 1640, and our government uses that. So, can they use an FM or whatnot? They sure can. Can talk radio use FM? They sure can. I listened to a dude out of WMAL out of Washington, Chris Plant. He's on like 9 in the morning to 12. Very conservative. It's got a great show. After that, Don Bongino, who's no longer at Fox, he's got a show on it. So there's other options out there, but it's a big market with the AM, and because I'm older, I'll even say the older folks stick with it. But I also uh, uh, I stream my radio talk shows. And I don't want to I don't want to be pushing any particular media for that, like iHeartRadio and whatnot. But it's there, and you can go directly to the website. You look up Chris Plant on 104.5 MAL out of DC, and you can stream it right from their website. So if you have one of those services on your cell phone, we all know the cell phones connect right up to your phone Bluetooth in your car, and you can stream it from there. It's a little extra step for some of the older folks, but instead of bitching and moaning, and I understand Mark's thing, and he looks at it as a liberty and freedom thing. I look at it as an opportunity. You know, Fox. Well, at this point, I don't know. After they got rid of Tucker Carlson, they got a lot of money, lot of money. I mean, look at Murdoch, dude. Every time he gets divorced, it's like a million. A billion and a half. He gives his one of his ex old ladies. Uh, so he's got cash. Start buying up some FM radio stations in big key markets. That's all you got to do.
But the key here is the AM radio frequencies are messing with the actual operation of the electric vehicle. Is that what's
But
going?
it's not messing with it. So what happens? They're saying is that the drive motors, and this goes back. They started saying this back in the early 2020s, and it might even have been a little bit before. So the electric motors that drive the wheels in these EVs put out a little frequency that is in the AM spectrum. So some AM channels are getting a little buzzing, popping, and it's interfering with the radio. The radio is just a receiver, so it's not going to give out anything that's going to screw with the car. It's just receives, and so what you end up doing is getting a little bit of uh, you know a worse fidelity than you normally do. Can they put a better antenna on the vehicle and do a little shunting? They can do everything, but I think they're just going to say the heck with it. We're going to get rid of AM. It is what it is. Hey, Mark, Sean Hannity, you guys are making some serious duckies. You know what? Start investing in some FMs out there. Yeah, that's all. That's all you got to do. Teach your customers how to stream and how to connect to their cell phones and you don't have to worry. I was just down. This is funny. I was just down in North Carolina. I think a couple podcasts ago I talked to us. Friend sick down there with cancer, known him for 51 years. Well, uh, he wanted me to come down and see him again. He was on his last legs. And luckily, I got down there the week before, that week before he passed on Saturday, the 22nd. So, but while I was there and he was kind of incapacitated, he had cancer. Uh, I, I was just streaming some of my talk shows that I have from the North.
Yeah.
And I was kind of giggling, and I didn't bother looking down there. So once you find that and you've got a connection with your cell service to the internet and you're streaming this stuff, you can drive all the way across country. You don't have to worry about satellite TV. My phone's got a unlimited data, and I go, and it's good to go. And peace to Ron. I hope he's up there in heaven driving a brand new '57 Chevy, which he had down here on Earth, and he's ripping up the clouds. Maybe that's why it's raining here tonight, huh?
Wow. Thoughts for Ron, of course. So something happened last week or 2 weeks ago. It got published or publicized, and I know this is something that makes your blood boil. It
Did it
seems as though
come out of a liberal's mouth?
yes, that
And it made my
this
blood boil.
this did. And it seems as though those of us with great credit scores are going to be paying for those among us who have less than amazing credit scores. What's going on here, Ray?
I had one of my old bosses in the school district, a guy, Dr. Furtado, great guy. Uh, he used to say, "No good deed goes unpunished." And this is what the progressive liberals have been doing to us for years and years and years, Casey. So yeah, so they came out. This actually goes back to the housing crisis in 2008, and all you youngins out there need to Google what happened. Uh, so they were giving away houses basically to folks who just couldn't afford the house that they were buying. Some of these folks were making $40,000 a year, and they were buying $500,000 houses. And there was no oversight. They're like, "You deserve it, man. Just make it work." Well, that only works for so long until people say, "Yeah, I can't pay it." And they do their hierarchy of needs, and paying the mortgage on an outrageously priced house just you know wasn't in their wheelhouse. So they stopped paying on it. So we had a massive, massive meltdown in 2008 because of it. So because of that, the same idiots that came up with these, all must have a house, says, you know what? Well, we got to have a thing called a loan level price adjustment fee. The you idiots out there who have paid your bills and you got a good FICO score. I'm going to pop about a 0.5% on that to help offset the losers out there that took advantage of the system and walked away. So, anyways, yeah, okay. So that was in 2008. Luckily, I had my loan before that. So now, because it the crap is hitting the fan again, and this country's going to be in some really, really bad ways pretty soon, financially. So they upped that LLPA, the loan level price adjustment, uh, for us hard working FICO score worrying individuals. We're going to be up to 1.5% fee. There you go. Let's just go ahead and up it, because you know what? Government runs the mortgages. Same with college loans, right? They raise that. So what happens when the colleges and mortgage people are guaranteed extra money? They're just going to raise the prices.
They got no risk.
At no risk. It's the same with EV cars, right? Look what happened when they had that program. Oh, the government's going to offset, and we're going to pay 8% of your vehicle. So what did Ford and all these idiots do? They raised their prices to 8%. The money was guaranteed, so they're going to swap it up from you. Well, they're doing the same thing here. So if you've got a very good score, you're gonna work out. But on the reverse side of that, Casey, you know what happens when you got a crappy score? Yeah, you get money back, dude.
Really?
We're gonna reward poor performance, and we're gonna stick the needle in the eye of people who do it right. And that's the American way, huh?
Seems like a perversion of the so-called American way.
Well, it's
But are we surprised at this point?
well, I'm surprised that a certain group of people haven't stood up and said, "Enough's enough. Enough's enough." As I always say, since the beginning of the time with this podcast, you pull the rope tight and you look at the end, and it's the same cabal of morons that are pulling it tight and just trying to ruin this country. I was talking to one of my brothers, and he was like, "Well, they just want to, get rid of the Constitution. Ergo, they want to end the country because that's all we are is the Constitution. We're not just a landmass with a name. We're not Liechtenstein. No, we're the United States of America. We have the Constitution. And until something better comes along, I think we've talked about this too. I had a good friend of mine was a Catholic. I said, "So how you doing with that? You like it? Working for you? Uh, sit on any priest's lap lately? Whatever." And he's like, "Ray, until something better comes around for me, I'm going to stick with it." And I said, "Well, God bless you. I was there. My parents, my mother was church going at the time, and first communion and confirmation, all that stuff, and." Uh, it's an organization, right? I mean, they got caught with their pants down, and look what's happening now. They can't pay off enough of the uh, people who got abused by priests. And in fairness, it's just not the Catholic religion. It's all of them, but it just seems a little more prevalent in the Catholic ones as far as the reporting goes. That's just the way I see it. They're selling off churches. They're selling off property. I mean, are you serious? So anytime you add corporation to church, you're gonna have some issues, and that's what's happening. And that's what's happening with Freddie and Fannie, and or whoever is in charge of doing mortgages these days. Everything changes as quickly as you can speak. Uh, but you know what? You kind of got to get the politics out of this, and I know I'm kind of all over the place, but as I visualize it and I see the spiral, one of the big things down the end of the spiral is that ESG about the equity and whatnot. Uh, Uncle Scar from The Lion King. Sometimes life's not fair, Simba. Well, you know what? There is no friggin' equity. You know, you know who we need to put in charge, and then we'll jump onto the next. Dave Ramsey. He needs to be put in charge of all this stuff and say, "What are you people crazy?" Yeah. I was listening to a little shorty had up on the computer the other day, and he's talking about these people driving. You know, they bought a truck, they're building a house, and they're poor, and they need the bills and everything else. He says, "Well, what are you driving?" We got this big truck, and this. Well, what's your payments on that? $450 a month. He's like, what are you doing driving a $450 a month truck for? And some other idiots, some kids in their late 20s, early 30s got married. They're $1 million in debt. And you go, a million. How do you sleep at night? How do you go to bed? The weight of that is unbelievable. So, you know what? The weight of 33, what are we up to now? What's our debt? 33, 34, 35 trillion, 38 trillion?
Yeah, trillion is an abstract concept, though. Nobody knows what a trillion is, anyways.
Yeah, we went
So,
through that with, how many seconds ago Jesus was born.
right.
And let me tell you, you know, you can't sleep. Anyone in their right mind can't sleep putting up with this crap. And it's, and it's you know what? It's like all the Democrats and a good majority of the Republicans really don't care. They just and then the president gets bamboozled. Oh, Mr. President, you're doing a good job. Our numbers are coming down. Our oil production's good, but we need this money for this COVID stuff, because because Fauci, you know, and all these people wear masks. Don't wear masks. Take the shot. Don't take the other shot. Take 6 shots. Take 632 shots. The shots don't work. Oh, but the shots will make it easy on you. No, no. So it's all coming out now. So they lied to the president. They lied to us, and they threw all kinds of money. Biden threw even more. I don't know the exact number, and no one can count this high, Casey. But there is still like billions of COVID money out there that hasn't been spent. Schools are spending it on diversity training. They're spending it on new air conditioners, floor waxers, and it just doesn't compute, man. You know these. I was talking to a guy the other day. I don't know if I should be even repeating this. I think it was in a Vince Flynn movie one time. He goes, until heads start popping off, he goes, these people aren't going to change. And I'm like, whoa, that's a little bit too radical for me. But there are people out there thinking it. And I think this is what might have gotten Tucker in trouble. because he started saying, "Look at this. If people don't start playing by the game, this is going to lead to anarchy." And I'm paraphrasing here, but I heard him say it on his show, and that's a spooky thought.
No question. Two quick hits as we wrap up the show for this week, Ray. I saw a stat recently that the United States is spending more in Ukraine than Russia is, the aggressor in
Boom.
that situation. Where does this end, if ever?
Well, once again, it ends with that dude pulling the rope at the end, that cabal of people trying to ruin this country. You know, there's a lot of jazz going down in Taiwan with China, and as soon as they know that we can't really react to them, they're going to take over Taiwan, and we're actually advertising that we're low on bullets and missiles and cannonballs and everything else. It's not going to be good. It's not going to be good.
The apparently in the Sudan right now, there's thousands of American citizens stuck. The government has collapsed, and apparently there's been very little effort to use our military to get them out.
The Sudan,
Shades of Afghanistan, just
yeah.
projecting more weakness. It seems.
Well, don't think that China didn't have anything to do with that. And it gets into you know they're kicking up the dust, and they're the bully on the beach now. We're sitting there trying to be nice, and they're kicking sand in our face, Casey. They got of course they got Russia meetings. They're in Saudi Arabia now, and Brazil. They're working with Venezuela. Uh, I guess the president of South Africa is going to meeting with them now coming up. And then the crap that's happening in Sudan and France and whatnot. And it's like, you know what? So when you're the reserve currency and everything has to translate to the dollar, and you're as weak as Biden is and his administration and his cabal of people, and even our Republicans there, I think I said that one time. I liken it to you're dead thirsty, and you're walking down the street in Orlando. You're at the House of Mouse, and you're thirsty. And there's a half empty water bottle sitting there. You're gonna pick it up and drink it because you're like, you're gonna go in the store and pay $8 for a new bottle of water, right? But if you're in the middle of the desert, you come over a hill and you see that half filled bottled water versus not half empty anymore, you're gonna guzzle that sucker. Now you don't care whose lips were on that thing 15 minutes ago, right? So this is what's happening to the rest of the world. That we're all in a bad way. COVID, for the way it was, did hurt people, and it's so these people in these countries are like, the American dollar is slipping away. The president's a bumbling fool. Uh, you know, every time you turn around, they're trying to arrest Trump and indict him on stuff 15, 20 years ago. Because the stuff they try to accuse him of doing, the Russian misinformation, was BS. Hunter Biden's laptop that he tried to bring up, by the way, which if they would have came out and told the truth, our FBI and whatnot, Biden would not have won. But they had 51, high fucking stake people writing on that stuff. Well, guess what? It was fake. The signatures were fake. They got kind of coerced into doing it, it looks like. There was some dude that just came out tonight somewhere. Where was I reading that? I think it was on Newsmax. Greta Van Susteren was interviewing some CIA dude. He's like, look, there was no here there. He was reading the stuff on a laptop and Russian misinformation. He goes, yeah, I don't think so. I'm not going to sign that. So the other people did. They used that was all part of the campaign for Biden to get that done, and all the people that ran that got Blinken and whatnot got high paying jobs. So uh, once again, here we go. It's all talking about fake and what's wrong and whatnot. And these people, they they better start making bullets. They better get their financial house in order. Find how much money they have left of COVID funds, put that back into the treasury, and don't call that a oh, we were 32 trillion, now we put a trillion back. Now we're only 31 trillion. And can't take credit for that. That's but I've seen stuff like that happen. But
No.
yeah, you know, it's just the way it is.
Just gotta keep fighting the good fight, Ray, as we always do.
Yeah.
And we gotta start an AM radio show and try to save AM.
Save
Or
AM,
take
save
over.
the banks. One other thing that I read, uh, the the Fed, who oversees all the banking and whatnot, said that that their regulations were inadequate and their regulatory standards were too low for the banks.
Oh.
We're talking about the SVB bank out there, the Silicon Valley Bank, and subsequent other banks that dropped. They didn't have their eye on the ball. This administration doesn't know what they're doing, and they don't want to know because they want things to fail. It's crazy. It's crazy. And one other thing, Casey, this is going to be the last one because I've had arguments with so many people. I get friends that drink those cans of energy drinks in the morning. They're like, "Oh, coffee, that stuff will kill you." I'm like, well, yeah, because we, humans have been drinking coffee for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years here. They're drinking these energy drinks, and so Fox Digital did a thing on talked to some nutritionists, and they're like, "Oh, you can even when you buy sweet tea in a can, well, anything that comes in a can, in my estimation, unless it's beer, you probably shouldn't drink it." And you drink beer because you're an adult making a decision that you would rather get a little buzz going instead of reading about Biden all the time. So but all these look at frappuccinos in a can. All they're doing is throwing fructose in there to make it sweeter than God ever intended. Putting all kinds of other garbage in there and that are making our hearts race. So I'll go out to the Congress and say, hey, you knuckleheads, if you want to do anything, you're not going to do anything about the banking industry. You're not going to do anything about bullets and humanitarian and, getting rid of China. But look, before we go out of business in this country and we become Venezuela, do one thing: outlaw fructose. just people would be like, you know what? As you're like, your eyes are closing and the sun's setting on your final day, everyone can look up and go, yeah, well, at least they outlawed fructose and saved the youth. And that's all I got.
Wow, right, that was more than enough. But most importantly, who is the sponsor of today's show, and how do you spell it?
Our good friends at the Go Do app, and that's Go Do app, the Go Do app. It's
Outstanding.
at our friends at the Apple Store and Google Play Store, and it's a great app. Kind of gives you listing of bars, restaurants, nightclubs, and my favorite, breweries in your local area. And you should download it. You should have your friends download it, put pictures up, rate the places you're at. Besides high fructose issues, our bars and our nightclubs, they're floundering. They're floundering. Kids aren't doing it. We need to get them back out there, throw some pictures and up on this happening. Let's get everyone out partying again.
There we go. thegodoapp.com. GODU. Well, Ray, thanks for your time tonight, and we will be back next week with another show.
Terrific. Thank you.